from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Realtor Growth listeners. Before we get started, we just got to talk about if you're watching us live. If you're not watching us live, we do come out live. If you're listening to us on Apple, Google Play, those kind of platforms, then go back to the live version, because the background that Peter got going on, I was kind of geeking out about it before we got going. Have different angles, all rendering. But anyways, thank you, Peter, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. That's I've been looking forward to this one. It's not a lot of live stuff I get to do, so I'm actually pretty excited about that.
No, I'm excited for it too. I mean, it's you came hot with the background, so I'm assuming the rest of the episode is going to be hot too.
I hope so.
So yeah, we talked about beforehand. Your company, Telzio. Did I say it right? Telzio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Telzio. Yep.
What's the meaning of Telzio? Where did that come from? The name?
Well, it was available as .com.
Okay. Wow. So now, all right.
No, I mean we really needed a short name, like 5 letters max, and we wanted to be something with telephone and telecom, and we wanted it to be available as .com. So we just brainstormed, and that was what we ended up with.
For 5 letters, was it precisely 5 letters, or was it more so just you wanted something short?
We wanted something short, and I would say like 5 is probably the max that we wanted, 5 or 6 letters max. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right, so tell us a little about Telzio.
Well, it's a phone service platform, business phone service. So we provide phone services for all kinds of businesses, 2-3 people, startups, to companies like Samsung, Airbnb, Facebook, and so on and so on. So it's like a very scalable. It's all managed online. So it's a software as a service platform where you can just go online and set everything up, manage it there, and take your calls and make your calls from your cell phone or your computer, or even from a desk phone if you kind of prefer that. But yeah, it's like a full-featured phone service platform for businesses.
Does the number get rotated? Because I mean, right now with like cell phones, things like that, if it's calling, if you're calling out there and it looks like it's kind of a telemarketer, they have new platforms where it comes to spam. Does your service do like anything like a rotation of phone numbers, or is it more of like in-house, like like individuals calling to assess? Yeah.
Both. Well, so we don't really rotate because we don't have to. Our numbers are legit. With like they're not spoofed or anything like that, and they're actually like tier 1 numbers on the tel network. So we can prove that the one that calls is the one that calls, and that way it doesn't end up as a spam call for the receiver.
Okay. Well, I mean, one of the intriguing things when I think your team kind of brought this up about coming here was a DJ with a phone company, or turn from a DJ to a phone company. It's a very, it doesn't seem like it's a linear path, right? So walk us through where did that come from? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. Everyone says that it's not a linear path, but for me, it's just always been around, because I grew up with a mom who was an engineer, a grandfather who was a telecom technician, and a dad who was a drummer in a band, and my mother was also a pianist. I've always had music and technology since I was a baby, really. I got my first computer when I was 6, and I started DJing when I was probably 9 or 10 at friends' birthday parties. So founded my first website when I was 14 and sold that when I was 18. So I've always had these 2 things going my whole life, and I started coding very, very early on. And at the same time, music, especially electronic music that I played growing up in Europe, that is very nerdy. I mean, it's all about just sitting in front of a computer and programming your songs, really. And of course, you got to have some kind of musical talent, but it's a lot of geeking out. So for me, it's not that different. Even when I got the idea for Telzio, it was really just because I was building a platform for some music promotion stuff, and I needed a phone service. I couldn't find anything out of the box that worked and was cheap enough for me to afford it and could set it up easily. So I just I'll just manage myself. I just code it myself, and then I just got hooked. So yeah, that's kind of it.
So you kind of talk about you build out the I guess the structure of the music before the actual session, right? Now, and like in college, I actually had a buddy that was a DJ, and he would kind of tell me, okay, you ear right here, okay, this is where you turn it, this is where you do it, and like he had a more refined ear than I did, right? But there's a science to it, right? How many DJs today actually design their own music and edit their own music before they actually go live? Is it still the norm that everyone does it, or is it a team, or how does that work now?
Well, it depends a lot on who you are as a DJ. There's a lot of different ways and styles. I think most of the ones that are, a name that you heard of, they either make their own edits of different songs and either bootlegs and remixes or simply just cut them up the way they want them on forehand. But even to really become a name, you have to produce as well, and not just edit. You have to write your own songs, produce your own songs, and put things out there. So, so people can play your music when you're not spinning records.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it. But there's a lot of different ways to play, and that's not just the only way. And I will say I never prepared anything before a gig. I would have things that I had made, in forehand, but I never prepared a set. I wouldn't, have certain things come in a certain order. It was really just by feeling the crowd and playing it by ear.
Now you have the idea that, okay, I want to build this, I guess, telephone company, right? What were the first steps, or what was that transition of moving from the DJ industry over there?
Well, so at that point when I started building it, I was completely burned out. I had played 380 something gigs in a year. That's like more than one a day, but a lot of them were like 3 or 4 in a day, and then a lot of travel. So I was completely burned out, and I hadn't made music for a long time because I'm not one of those guys that can sit on a laptop on a plane and do it. I have to be perfectly neatly set up in my studio and all that. So I've been away from that for a long time. So I needed some time off, and I asked my manager to put a pause on the bookings and just take a little breather. And that's where I started coding on Telzio. So I kind of just got hooked. I never stopped playing. I just put a pause on the bookings, really. So what just happened was I just got caught in this project that became a company, and eventually, now it's been 10 years I've been doing this, and I haven't played a gig since. I miss it once in a while, but yeah, it kind of just happened, I would say.
Did you have money stored away that allowed you to focus on coding?
I wish. No, absolutely not. And I wish I had, but we ended up cashing in my wife's 401k. We had just started dating back then, and and we cashed in $16,000 and bootstrapped the company. We never took investors or even spent $1 on advertising. We just took the long road and hustled.
So okay, you get to watch just dating at that time, and then going, hey dear, I have this idea. I need you to take out your retirement so we can start this company. Walk us through that conversation.
I don't even remember that conversation. I think it was actually her doing it, because she kind of believed in the project too, and in the business. I mean, she's our COO today, and we've worked together for 10 years now, which is, I guess, unusual. But that's also one of the reasons why we didn't take investments. It was, in the beginning, we tried, and who's going to invest in a couple who's not married and just have this idea? And yeah, that's obviously not very investable. I'm happy today that we didn't. Because obviously, we own the company now, and we can do whatever we want. But that was tough in the beginning for sure.
So $16,000. How far did that get you? Because did she have to keep working? I mean, it's you have to live somewhere. I mean, what was that looking like?
Yeah, so I took some consulting jobs in the beginning. The first year and a half or so, I took consulting jobs here and there, and a month here and a month and a half there, and eventually I remember that very, very clearly when my wife told me, I think this was the last day you would ever work for someone else. Like that was a really, really good feeling. Just thinking like, oh yeah, okay, now we're actually at the point where we can pay ourselves a salary and we can actually live off of this, and we might not have to go back if things go the right way.
How long into starting the company did that ring true?
I would say maybe a year and a half in or so, maybe a year. Yeah.
So it started picking up like wildfire. Then it started going well after a year.
Well, so the thing was like we really just slowly grew in the beginning, where we just put it out and we wrote about it on some message boards, and people started signing up a little bit here and there. And then, as people signed up, we got suggestions for more features that they requested, and we built them. And then, every time we built new features, bigger customers started signing up, and it was kind of like just snowballing from there. And we always reinvested everything back into the company. I mean, we pay ourselves a salary, and we pay a good salary to our employees and all that, but we reinvest everything back into it. So try to hire more people and get more developers, get more salespeople, all that.
So at the beginning, though, was it mostly just kind of word of mouth on these message boards? Were you actually now prospecting and calling these companies, or what was it? What did it look like?
Yeah, so we actually never did that. We never paid for ads. We never did any outbound sales. It's always been inbound, people calling us when they sign up. But yeah, it was in the beginning, it was just writing about it here and there. And then we found out, well, we can't buy ads because it's so competitive. I mean, we're up against companies like AT&T and Verizon, and they have billions of dollars to spend on ads. So some of the keywords, or the good keywords in our industry, are $700-800 per click, just for one click. And the math adds up because certain businesses stay on for a long time and they pay so and so much per month for the service. But it's a huge upfront investment that we just didn't have the money for. So we had to figure out what do we do then? And that was just SEO. We just had to, get to those keywords and get, on page 1 on Google for those keywords organically and get there for free. And that has taken us a long time, but, it's worth it because now we don't pay what they pay and we get the same amount of customers.
Was there a time, though, that you were like in between where maybe you're getting the wildfire, but capping out of where you can grow, that you started investing into the SEO and anything like that? Yeah,
so I think pretty early on we found out that was the best strategy, was really to try and master SEO. But the funny thing about SEO is it's not something you can trick. You just have to play by Google's rules and create content that is relevant to whoever's searching for it. So that means creating a good website and really follow all the technical aspects and the technical suggestions that Google make that you should do. And that takes a long time. And it's not something that you just do and then overnight you're on number one. It takes years. But slowly, our strategy was, to try and conquer some of the lower hanging fruits, the less competitive keywords. So we started there and then slowly worked our way up and got more and more traction.
And I know, I think it was one of your team members, or it might have been yourself, something like that. But there was somewhere I saw that there was a point in time when you're growing that you were looking at taking outside funding. Mm-hmm. What did that look like? Why were you thinking that? What was happening there?
Well, so the funny thing is, you only hear about tech startups taking VC money, and that's the only way you can grow a company. That's all you hear about. You hear about these once in a billion, where someone starts a company and they take $200 million in investments, and now the company is worth $5 billion, and everyone's happy. But you don't hear about the failures. You don't hear about the ones that crash and don't make it, which is far most of it. But you especially don't hear about the ones that don't even take that money, that don't take that VC money. So we thought that was the only way when we started out. We thought we had to go out and raise that money. And we tried for a long time until we really found out that it's not for us. One thing is the people that do take those kind of amounts from VCs, that's all they do. That's what their business is. They do fundraising for a living, essentially, these people behind it, rather than building a product and a platform that customers really like, which is what we're into. That's what we love doing and what our happy place is. So at some point we realized that, and we found out, well, maybe we shouldn't try to hunt this investment, and let's try and just grow with what we have and build a good product and make sure that people tell their friends about it because they love the service, right? And then, eventually now we are starting to look into a real, Series A round, probably sometime this year. But that's really just because we are now at a place where we can start taking the money and compete on the things that our competitors. We like the company has grown to a mature level where the platform can compete 100% with all the other guys out there.
So is it more so you feel like capped off of where you currently are, and this will take you maybe to the next level?
Well, I would say I wouldn't say capped off, but I would say we can just pour more gas on the fire, and we have some strategies that we have now proven works. That if we put A in here, then we get B out there, and we've done a lot of testing, of course, over the years, and we kind of have a solid strategy now that's very safe because it's not just a startup anymore, if you could say it like that.
Do you ever look back at when you started and saying, okay, well, when we were a startup, we could have got this money, maybe we would have got here faster, but we'd have less of our company? I mean, does that debate ever happen, or is that like in the past now?
Oh, no, I think about that a lot, especially because we got an investment offer at some point for $250,000 for 50% of the company.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just, we were seriously considering it at that point, because $250,000 were actually a lot of money for the company at that point.
Yeah.
And today it's peanuts compared to, everything is relative to where we are today. So I'm just so happy that we didn't go that route, because one thing is we wouldn't be working for ourselves. That would be, the second you take investments, you're working for someone else, obviously. But today we own everything ourselves. We can do the things we want. We can build the product. We take it where we wanted to take it, and that's just the best feeling in the world. But yeah, I think about it a lot. It's things could have gone in many different ways. It could also have been good if we took investments, for sure.
Well, I mean, and I know you kind of like talked about a little bit about the idea of taking funding from a venture capitalist earlier on for the startup. I mean, if someone was listening right now and they have a company and they're looking to, or they have a startup, right? And they're debating on taking VC money, what should be like kind of the conversation in their head? Is there kind of like a roadmap they should think through to actually see if it's even worth it for them?
I would say it might be worth it. I can't tell whether or not for your business particularly, but I would say just think about that it's not the only way. I think that's really the thing. It's VC money is not the only way you can grow a company, but it seems like it is, and it's all we hear about, that is what you do. But that's not the only real option you have. Just keep that in mind.
And now, I guess in the present time, when you're looking at getting VC money for your company, what are some thoughts that go through your head to see if that money is right for you?
Well, so we are less dependent on money coming from someone who can help us in other ways than just the money, being that we don't really need a lot of outside help with certain things that you could probably need when you're a startup. We have most things figured out at this point. So for us, it's really more about taking in cash that can accelerate growth. So it's just money for the sake of money, really. But if you're a startup, that's completely different. Sometimes, VCs have a whole network of different services that they provide to you and can help you with, and that can just save you a lot of time and headache in the beginning. There's a lot of things that we had to learn that we could have been told, or just gotten handed if we were, part of a VC.
And I guess again, going back to someone's listening, and they maybe are in the position you're currently in, or maybe the startup position, what's the best way of them actually getting the word out that they're looking for VCs?
It's tough. The best way to get ahead of or get in front of some is really to know someone who can make an introduction. It's really hard to just do cold calling. But it depends, because if you have a kick-ass product that just is so phenomenal that sells itself and so on, then the VCs will find you. I'm not a second in doubt. That's what they do for a living. So if you have that, next unicorn, you don't even have to look for them.
Gotcha. Well, I know we talked a lot about VCs recently, but I mean, something that just kind of popped in my head. I mean, you've had this business with your now wife, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said there's a synergy, right, of marriage and work. Any kind of thoughts of why that is, or yeah?
I think we found out early on that we are good at different things. So she has some skills that I don't have, and the other way around. And then we found out how to kind of separate our duties so we don't step on each other's toes. And really, most of the day when we are working, we don't even talk to each other because we're working on separate things. So we don't even see each other, just in different offices and so on. And I think that's important because, after some time, obviously, if you're sitting on each other's lap all day, then it's bound for failure, and I think that's also one of the reasons why we didn't get investments in the beginning. It's a pretty obvious thing that it's doomed if for most couples that work together.
Do you have any kind of rules of when you guys are allowed to talk about business and not talk about business, talk about personal things like that?
My wife has, and I try to follow them.
What do those look like?
That we don't talk about it at home, and that's really difficult for me. And I try as good as I can, and respect that. But obviously, it's hard because this is your life, this is your baby, right? So it is difficult, but I think it's a good thing that she's stuck on that.
Where do you see this business going? If we were talking in 5 years from now, where do you see the telecommunication business going, or Telzio going? I mean, future.
Well, so things are changing a lot right now, and we are changing our product a lot because we need to keep up. Obviously, AI is a big thing happening, and especially in our space. We've started actually building our AI product back in 2017. We registered AIattendant.com, which we are about to roll out. So it's not something that's surprising us. We just kind of been waiting for the technology to be ready for it, for what we wanted to build. But not only that, I don't think telecom is going to be telecom as we know it for much longer. Things are changing a lot. Consumers and businesses as well are spreading out on more than just phone calls. And you have to be, as a business, be available where your customers want to communicate with you. So it's not enough to have just a phone number and an email address anymore. You have to be able to respond if someone texts you or they DM you on Twitter or Facebook or WhatsApp or all these different ways you can communicate. You need to be available in that places because your customers expect that. And I have an example for myself. I was out buying a car like 2 years, a year and a half ago or so, and I test driven it, and I was like, okay, that's the one. I'm just gonna go home and think real quick. I got the business card from the dealer, and I emailed him the same night and saying, hey, what's the price if I want to upgrade to the same model but with the bigger engine? And nothing. I didn't hear anything back from him. So the next day I went down to another dealership, a different brand, but basically test drove the same car. Sometimes they're the same essentially, and they had it in stock, and I bought that car the same day. And a month later, I got a reply to that email asking, so the price would be this and this. So he could have sold me a car if he had, replied to his email. But the thing is, I could have called him. I had his business card with his phone number. Yeah. I could just have called him and asked, and he would have sold that car. But I didn't want to call him at that point. I wanted to send him an email. That was my preference. That's in that particular moment. So because he didn't reply and he didn't, answer where his customer was connecting with him, he missed out on that sale. And that goes for everything now. People expect to, get an answer right away. And if you pair that with some AI, then you can do some pretty cool stuff.
Well, so I know you talked about the AI aspect of it. Do you guys plan to incorporate that into your business at Telzio, or? Okay. Yeah,
so we actually already are on our backend, and our customer service and sales and are using that a lot. It's built into our platform already, but we are rolling out a product as well where our customers can basically use the same tools as we do, where they can let an AI bot answer your calls and direct them the way and answer a bunch of things about your business that even the best person that's worked for you for years can't even answer, because it's trained on all your conversational data, like support tickets, sales emails, and all that stuff from all the years that you've been in business. So it knows everything that everyone knows, and it can answer right away.
How much, coding goes into, okay, this is kind of the style that we want to be talking to the people, our customers like. We want to have our individuals to at least have a college degree? So talk like more on using those words, talk more on this, have more short, or is it more on here's the information, our AI is going to actually respond back to the customer and just the way it's supposed to be?
So that's a good question, because the way it works is really that because it's trained on your emails and your support tickets and your all the data that you have, let's say, your internal wikis, your external support pages, or whatever you have online, because it's trained on all that data, it also trains on how you talk to your customers, how you write your emails, how you speak, and we can train it on call recordings from your past calls as well with your customers. So it will actually mimic the exact way that you talk to your customers. So you don't even have to worry about that.
Wow. How often are you staying up with technology, and how are you doing it? How are you trying to be an innovator in the space?
I think I'm just naturally curious. I have major ADD, and I go down that rabbit hole several times a day, and every night after my kids are put to bed, I'm in front of my laptop and just researching and working and staying up to date. So I can't help it. I get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, and then I start digging and try to find more. So I think it's just like very natural to me to always be curious.
Does your wife ever pull you back on the reins and saying, okay, we're not going that direction, we're not going to spend the money there? Or how does that kind of dynamic work when you're inundated, I guess, with so much information and you're not sure what to actually implement?
Not a lot. I think so. She does sales and she handles the sales department, marketing, and the operations of the business. And I'm product and engineering primarily. And I have a good eye for what our customers ask for and what is a viable product and what can sell. So we don't really have a lot of discussions about that. We tend to kind of just follow what is it that seems logical. What is the next step for us to go in terms of building out the product. And so far it's worked pretty well.
Peter, thank you so much for being on the platform. As people are listening and let's say they're looking to get more information about you or your company, what's the best way of them getting more information?
So if you want to try out Telzio, there's a free demo and a 1 month free service right now. If you go to Telzio, Telzio.com and just sign up for that trial. So please do that. It's fun to play around with. It's not actually that boring. There's like a little drag and drop. It's actually pretty cool to set things up. And if you want to get in touch with me, I love to chat about anything really. So peterschroeder.com, there's all my contact info.
I'm gonna finish off one last question, Peter. Is there ever going to be a time where we're going to see Peter back in the DJ booth?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I never stopped. I just put a pause on the bookings. I actually still make a little music here and there once in a while, and when I have time, and it's itching a little bit more than usual recently. So at some point, maybe. Who knows?
Does your team members or your customers ever get surprised of your background?
Probably when they first start with us, but we have. I mean, my turntables are in the middle of our office out here with a big disco ball over. So I don't think it takes. Yeah, it doesn't take long before they know. At least. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for Peter for being here today. Hopefully, everyone got some great information. Please go in the show notes. Go follow Peter on all the social media platforms. Go on Telzio. Free 1 month plan, and then also please subscribe to the Road to Growth podcast. Thank you guys, and hope you guys make it successful today.